All set. Good evening and welcome to the April 24th, 2012 Waterboro Board of Selectmen's meeting. If you'd rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the first item on the agenda, I'd like to recognize the Fire Chief, Matt Boers. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and allowing us the time to recognize a member of the department that has reached a milestone this coming Monday, April 30th, 2012. Starting April 30th, 1972, one of our members joined the department, Dwayne McCoy. He started with the Waterboro Fire Department, and I'm not sure if he realized that for the next 40 years he'd be continuing with service to us in many capacities over those years as an operator, firefighter, officer, mentor, and above all, a friend of many. So anyhow, this coming Monday marks his 40th anniversary with us, which in today is a huge accomplishment. We have a significant decline all the time in volunteers and call force members, so it's greatly appreciated. We wish to extend our sincere appreciation and thanks to Dwayne McCoy for the service that he's done for us. If Dwayne could come up. Dwayne, in appreciation of your 40 years of service for the Waterboro Fire Department, I'd like to recognize you for that and thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you very much.
Man of many words.
It's free time, Dwayne, if you want the microphone. Okay, thank you.
I got something. As many know that Dwayne's my father. We get a little running bet going on. I started when I was 14 years old, and I'm almost at my 20. And he bet me when I joined, I was 14 years old, that I couldn't do 20 years. So I just wanted to give him a friendly reminder that that $20 is coming pretty fast. I don't.
With interest, right?
With interest. But even like the chief said, you know, even today that the decline is, it's so hard to find new members that want to commit the time and the effort, you know, the giving up. I mean, I can think of many things that I've left, or from Thanksgiving dinner to Christmas dinner to going out with friends to birthday parties to it's such a party of life that it's good to see that the chief is giving recognition where recognition is due. Thank you.
I think he was using a Julian calendar or something, so you actually have to do 40 years to get to 20.
Who's leap year?
I guess you all know this, I'm Dwayne McCoy, and like Nathan says, you know, it's been fun. Been a lot of hard work, and I guess I owe him $20 now, but
I thought you were reaching for the $20.
no, I left my wallet home. I just want to say thank you, and the members of the department and you people, and I'm going to try to continue on the best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Moving right along. The first order, actually the third order of business here is a public hearing to establish an ordinance to exempt eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this proposed ordinance? Yes.
My name's Dave Barker. So now you guys, this is, so they are exempt, or are you waiving it so they will still have to pay the excise tax?
Now, this is in accordance with state law. It's an exemption for those active military personnel who are deployed for a period of longer than 6 months. I guess it's 6 months and a day, according to the statute. And this ordinance will see that that takes place for the veterans of Waterboro.
Oh, the
That
veterans also?
excuse me.
Yeah, just the active.
The active duty people.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I think it would be a way to honor our military service personnel. I know a lot of people may not understand, but they are among some of the lowest paid for what they do for us in our country, and I would like to see that, you know, this is a good way of honoring them, and I feel that it should go through, and we should be able to exempt them and help them out in any way we can. You know, and that's basically, I just wanted to see that this did go through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak either for or against the adoption of this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing then at this time. We'll be taking a vote on that a little bit later in tonight's meeting. We're going to have a little bit of an adjustment to our schedule this evening. It meets with the agreement of the board. The chair will entertain a motion to that effect to alter the agenda to accommodate an appointment from Mr. Steve Levy of the Maine Rural Water Systems.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjust tonight's agenda, moving the appointment to the next order of business. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Chair will recognize Mr. Levy.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
You're very sick. I was here at some point in the past regarding a public hearing on water quality. I apologize, I can't remember when, but I was here. And I discussed with this board and with the Waterboro Water District, Maine Rural Water Association, conducting a sort of a water quality survey in this area to determine what the feelings are in terms of satisfaction, non-satisfaction with water quality. I wanted to point out again that there's a Waterboro Water District, and they have restrictions on their ability to do main extensions. Basically, if there is to be a main extension, that the people benefited by the main extension they need to make an investment. So we thought that before we go further on, we would do the survey. You have the results of the survey. There was a response rate of 36%, which I would say for mail surveys is better than average. Usually we count on 25% when we send things out around. I would say that, and we can go through question by question, but I think you want me to hustle on. I promise I don't speak for 5 minutes. In which case I would turn to the final page, number 14. Which is, are you willing to personally invest in a Maine extension, even if it could cost you more than $2,000? And it was a 71.93% no. I would say that, based on that, I would give advice to the water district. I mean, it's approximately $100 a foot to lay pipe, and I don't know what the exact cost would be to run it out there, but it would be far in excess of that amount of money. I would say that there is obviously water quality concerns in the area, but they do not seem to be so compelling, and people obviously that people would want to invest their money to get Waterboro Water District. My guess is that the Waterboro Water District would certainly like the additional customers. Is that fair to say? Fair to say. But they're not allowed to make that investment, and I just didn't see anything in the survey that said we want water out there. In addition, it would be difficult to get grant funds to run the main extension, which would mean if you do run the main out there, it would be based on customers making that investment. So based on that, unless something comes up that's compelling, I don't think the district would be able to afford. They can put their own money in, and I don't see people wanting to make an investment. There are many questions in there, but we can go through it quickly if you'd like. In terms of yield, which is question number 1, it appeared that people are satisfied with yield, either somewhat or very satisfied. In terms of pressure, I would say number 2, in general, the 36% of respondents said yes, they're satisfied. In fact, over 70% said yes, they're satisfied. Water quality, 31% is very dissatisfied. So that's 30% of 36% response rate. So about 10 people who responded.
Okay, this is not water district customers. This is from the old Alfred Road, right?
Correct.
That is
Okay,
correct.
these are private wells.
That is accurate.
Okay.
I'm sorry. These are private wells. And in other words, the district is trying to determine if there's enough interest to run a main out there. Question number 4, brown or cloudy water? No. Red or black staining? 33% said yes, which is typically red or black. Depending on colors, usually red is iron and black is manganese, sort of as an overgeneralization. Iron deposits, which ties into question number 5. Yes, there are iron deposits. Arsenic, the majority of people had tested for arsenic, and approximately 21% of the respondents were positive either for arsenic or another contaminant. And in this part of the world, it's common for private well owners to have arsenic. Water filter, 47% is yes. My guess is that in that area that it's probably shallow wells, dug wells, and commonly will have sediment in there that needs to get filtered. How often do you change the filters? Once a month is 21%. Again, if you're getting sand and silt and iron, that makes sense. Filter costs less than $20 a month as a response. I'm seeing all the fire department personnel to my left. Question number 12, are you interested in having public fire hydrants in the neighborhood? 52% said yes, but the only way you can do that is to have water lines out there. Do you want to become a customer of the Waterboro Water District? 40% said yes, which is nice. And do you want to invest in a Maine extension? And there was a 71.93% said no if it's going to cost more than $2,000. And without me running the numbers, it's going to cost them more than $2,000.
Agreed, do more.
That's 2,000. I just didn't want to scare people up. 2,000 was sort of a low threshold. $100 a foot to lay pipe. Based on this, I would say that the people there in the town are going to need to do other things other than run an extension from the water district. That's my report.
Very good, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I know that you've been having some medical issues, and we certainly appreciate you accommodating us. Is there anyone from the board that has any questions at this time for Mr. Levy?
I guess I would just, if we can take these numbers, basically, because I think we have an obligation to at least get back to the folks on Old Alford Road. So what you depicted here is the actual numbers that came in, so there's no reason that we couldn't send them these results, right?
No, these now belong to you in the water district. I also prepared, just because I think it's good for you to hear, a list of comments. You can do with them what you will. Some are very happy, some are not happy at all, as in any case of water quality issues. I just can't, I couldn't recommend to the water district that they move forward with this based on this survey.
First of all, thank you for participating and helping us out with this. I know it's been about a 2-year process. We had, the residents, we had a couple meetings where we invited residents to come in. Mediocre on the response that, the first meeting was very well attended, and then it seemed to kind of peter off after that. So the results don't surprise me. And I've talked to several of the residents that live down in there. A lot of them have already invested a lot of money in water systems, and their biggest fear was that they were going to be forced to become customers of the water district after they've already made the investment. And following up with some of those folks after we did some drainage work down there, I think that made a big difference too, and that there's a lot of folks that are very happy with the drainage that's been corrected now. It's going to be incumbent on us to make sure that we keep up on that drainage down there, but that seems to resolve a fair amount of problems that folks were having. So, just thank you for participating and making the trips down here to have those meetings with the citizens.
David? Is there any member of the audience that has a question for Mr. Levy regarding the water issue? Seeing none, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your patience.
I hope, I wish you a speedy recovery.
I just wish I could get speedy.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Have you given any thought to roller skates or anything?
Yeah, that'd be amusing. My wife was thinking of buying me some, but that has more to do with my insurance policy than that. 2 more weeks and I lose this, so it's very good.
You got something to look forward to then.
Got wires and I got EMS people. We'd be all right.
It's probably safer going through the EMS.
All right.
Okay, we'll commence with the agenda this evening. First order of business, and that is the fire department on a FEMA grant. And I know that we had some discussion on it last week, and there seemed, out of that discussion, to be some confusion. So we invited the fire chief here and the deputy fire chief this evening so that they could clear up any confusion that there was last week, so that we can make an informed decision. So the chair will recognize the chief.
I passed out, or I sent a document to the town administrator earlier today, and I believe you guys would have provided a copy of that. I don't know if you've had a chance to review that yet. Kind of outlined what I'm going to tell you again, or what I can tell you. The opportunity that we have currently is not tied to specifically just the live-in or Southern Community College or Maine Fire Service Training students. What it is that an individual that is a partner with us in the live-in program is spearheading, along with other grants that they've done in years past, to write grants for fire companies, specifically under the umbrella of those that are live-in department posts. Where we are now is the document that was sent out for signature. If you saw it or had the opportunity to read it, there was a couple of the signature spots already that I signed off on. One was that we were already awarded a grant in 2011 to apply this year's tuition for training of the new fire recruits that we had going from the college program and or other recruits we had. I signed off on it because the cost of the matching funds that were needed were the monies that we were already going to be contributing for the tuition cost of the program. But in return, we'll actually be compensating for apparatus. So anyway, that sums up what the other two are. The next one is, I believe it's Falmouth at this point, is proposing to spearhead to really write the grant for fire station improvements. Looking at the need for stations that have people living in them, specifically the college students or the living program. There's no direct tie to it other than working together to see if we can't secure funding. And basically, the grant, the guidance or the guidelines that we've received is in two areas of focus: fire suppression through a sprinkler system and vehicle exhaust removal system. Well, when we learned about this, we said, it seems like a pretty good idea, because we're talking about a vehicle exhaust removal system. With our population being under 10,000, the matching funds for the community would be 5%, or whatever the project cost is. There's two parts to it. Obviously, we were planning for, in the CIP, for a vehicle exhaust removal system, and then when we saw the grant, obviously the grant deadline to notify them is coming up at, I believe it's April 30th. However, the actual grant isn't submitted until later, so there's several different factors. I didn't feel comfortable putting my name on it. That's why we proposed the town administrator to get the blessing to put on this document for overall support. There is nothing that ties us to any funds if we don't have them, or if we have them, to do anything with this grant. If we get awarded it, great. If we get awarded it and we choose not to participate at that point and we don't have the funds, we simply tell FEMA that we don't have the funds, according to the verbiage right in the document that we printed off. If we get awarded it, and if based on the projections of what you guys have made for recommendations for the CIP and the exhaust removal system is approved, our plan is not to run out July 1st and to have a vehicle exhaust removal system installed. Our plan would be is to stall, wait to put the grant in. We would, in the meantime, work to actually get physical quotes for the installation of the required system with their specifying in the grant, and also the sprinkler system. To look at the package to say this is what the cost is. And in either case, it cannot exceed $100,000, the grant. So, if the grant awards, and I don't know the actual dates, but when the grants open up, there's a period of time that the grants are open for, 30 days, whatever it is. During that period is where the final completion, that through, I believe, is Nate Schools, will help us put the data in that we'll gather from the treasurer from the town of Waterboro and other resources. That information would be submitted if we move forward, and then we would sit and wait until we hear back any information that we can from FEMA of where we stand. If we don't get it, it doesn't mean anything. We do nothing. If we pass, if it goes to town meeting and the CIP item is approved, then we evaluate that and move forward at that point. But overall, we don't think that it would be smart to jump on, town meeting CIP item if we have a potential for a grant that would be a savings to the town, where we'd only be paying 5% of the actual cost. Now, obviously, the cost of the exhaust removal system would actually go up a little bit because they're wanting a direct capture system where we have spec'd out a non-direct capture system. I'm not sure the technical term of it, but more in line with a primal vent type system. So, by signing this, it doesn't obligate us to anything, other than lets us move forward with the potential for a grant. And then we explore it later on if we want it or if we don't want it. I don't know if I've answered your questions that you may have had, but certainly if you have them, fire away and I'll see what I can do.
The question last week was, what was the tie-in to this grant with the live-in students? And when I stopped by your office the following day to discuss it further, you told me that it really had nothing whatsoever to do with that, other than the fact that that's the college's umbrella. It's called the Live-In Student Program. And that's how it attached itself to this FEMA grant, because the grant was for those participating agencies that had live-in students. But if we didn't get the grant, it has no effect at all on whether we get live-in students or whether we don't. That's entirely separate.
One of their conversations that they've had at ongoing meetings was that having live-in students or people living in, people that are physically there around the clock, dealing with the fumes that are expelled from the trucks, was to try to prevent any safety issue or health risks later on. Looking at it from a safety and a personnel point of view is what they were going at through their live-in meetings. That's where it was derived from.
So they're using that as a leverage in the grant, basically.
Consortium as a group saying we'll put it in. However, one town may not get it and another town will. It's not going to be that we're going to get, because each town is up to $100,000 in this grant. We were just trying to do the right thing.
I'm okay. I mean, I think the last week it just got a little more confusing and to the point where, okay, we really have no clue about what's going on now, so. I'm good.
Do we take a vote now?
I think that's on the agenda later, isn't it, for a vote?
Let's see it.
I don't see it. So the chair would entertain a motion on that at this time.
I would make a motion that we sign the grant application with the understanding that we're under no obligation until we know exactly what's being offered.
But second, I think you said you already have signed off on it, right?
Not
Not
that
on the-
specific line.
Okay, all right.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the application for this grant with certain conditions regarding obligations. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, Chief. I don't see that you're up for anything else, so hopefully this test version of having staff reporting early will be something that we do in the future. We still need to discuss it as a board because there is a selectmen's policy that we have to vote on changes to the agenda. So this is just sort of a little pilot thing.
I think it's if you're accepting feedback or comments, I would love to speak on that.
You certainly have the floor, Chief.
From my perspective, I think it's beneficial. I looked at the agenda items many times, and obviously you do too. Whether it's appointments or people that on a regular basis speak, I think that if we can plug us in, I think sometimes we've sat during a meeting and inevitably something happens and we have to vacate. depending on where we fall on the agenda item, you have your business to cover, and we'd love to sit here and listen to your business, but sometimes it could be really late by the end of the night to cover some of it, where we can get in and get out of your hair pretty quick, so.
I think that was probably a lesser item of consideration when we looked at the whole thing. The consideration, I guess, was given to the fact that you folks had already put in a full day, and for you to sit around and just basically twiddle your thumbs through a whole meeting. You're right, it got late for you when you'd probably like to go home like most any normal person would. So I know that Selectman Gerard brought that to the board's attention, and as I said, we're going to be discussing it, a little later on, probably next week's agenda item, because we have a couple others this evening. We want to see how that goes too. So, but I certainly appreciate your comments, and have a good night. You'll get home early.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief and Deputy Chief. Next item on the agenda is discuss vote on a property tax abatement request recommended for denial by the assessor's agent for map 9, lot 14-6. Chair recognizes the assessor on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you should have the memo dated April 18. A little feedback there. The board had asked me on April 10th to review land assessments because of the O'Reilly appeal. And I did that, and this memo seems to indicate that there was a difference in how we treated 5-acre lots. And I looked at the entire area that encompassed map 9, which is a pretty large area. It takes into consideration lots on Ross Corner Road, West Road, and Middle Road. And I only paid attention to those in the F&A zone. And conclusion was that the lots on Sherwood Drive were slightly higher, or the ones that I found to be much higher than those that were in the areas that I just mentioned, West Road and the others. And I think that may be because of their location at the time when we did the revaluation. The sales we had on Sherwood, there were 2 of them. So we used those as the guideposts, if you will, and established a value for the 5-acre lots in that zone. In looking back and at some of the others that we had also done during the revaluation of 2007, there were at times an undeveloped factor that we applied to the larger lots because they were not using all of the 5-acre lots for a house. And I guess in looking at the whole procedure, I'd recommend a 15% reduction, which would be an undeveloped lot factor for the lots that are located on Sherwood Road. I almost said Sherwood Forest there. Sherwood Road, which would include the 2 vacant lots as well. I think that would reduce the 5-acre lots on Sherwood Drive to more closely match the ones that are out around on map 9 that are also 5 acres. In the case of Ms. O'Reilly's property, I'm recommending not only the 15% reduction of the land value, but there was also a 10% influence code, and it may be that the lot was located in such a way as to be closer to Sherburne Lake, if you will, the pond. And in 2007, ponds did gather up more value if you were closer. In this case, she is facing Sherwood Drive and not really Ross Corner Road or the lake. So I would recommend there that we remove that influence code of 10%, the total amount of the abatement would be $291.60 if the board so agreed with this change. Any questions? I have. I also gave you a proposed valuation report to show what the results would be. That was attached to the memo.
I guess it must be in our packet. So Jerry, the bottom line would be 154 versus where we were before?
That's correct. The valuation of Ms. Zarelli's lot would be $154,500, which does not include the homestead exemption that she has.
Does that bring her 5-acre parcel in line with the valuation of the other 5-acre parcels? Because I know there was some disparity between, there was 4 that were, I believe, valued at 83 to 85,000. Hers was approximately $8,000 to $10,000 higher. Is that what you're referring to as the 10%?
Influence.
Excuse me?
With the influence.
The influence?
Yes, that made her stand out, if you will, or stand up above the value of the ones that are in her neighbors.
Okay, so that brings her lot to, on parity with the others.
That's what this memo attempts to indicate, yes.
Okay.
The results are such that the lots, all the 5-acre lots on Sherwood Drive would be very close to the same value, depending on the variation in the size.
Does anyone from the board have any questions for the assessor? Thank you very much. Did you wish to speak on this matter? No? Okay. The chair would entertain a motion then at this time.
I'll make a motion that we accept the assessor's suggestion of a 50% reduction of the land value and the removal of the 10% influence code on this matter.
I would second that with just the caveat that, Jerry, you're going to submit to us the rest of the lots.
Oh, sure.
I mean, we're dealing with this one, right? Okay.
So we'll set that for an agenda next week to discuss these other lots, if you're going to have that information available.
Yeah, I may not be here next week.
Okay, the following.
But I can still present it. See what you get.
So it'd just be in our abatement.
Yeah, that'd be in our abatement book. Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Next item on the agenda is the assessing agent's update on the personal property collection. Without mentioning any names of the parties, if you could just sort of give us an overview. I know that we did receive a document that outlined it a little bit.
You have the memo dated April 18th. Do we want to start with that one? Or do you have any questions on that one at all?
I have an email dated April
Yeah,
20th.
that would be the fresh one, right.
Okay.
The email dated April 20th is as follows. As you can see from looking at the status off to the right that Susan Schwed's office provided, there is only one account that we received a $200 payment for. I think it says here made $200, I'm not sure what you mean by /month. I know there was a balance, but the only thing, we do have the check in hand for $200 made out to the town. The first one, I skipped by that one. That was deemed uncollectible, and therefore the account for Schwed was closed on 5/2/11. Then there was the $200 that we received from the second account. There was a judgment obtained, and they're awaiting the issuance of writs. Not sure how long that would take. The next item, they were told to cease action. That was because there was, it was going through a sale. There were payments being made by the bank. It was something that I think the board was involved in at the time. And then the property is, I guess it's in a state of
It's under new
bankruptcy.
ownership.
A new ownership, right. Next one is there's no response to the demand letter. Not sure where that's going.
Well, that one was pretty substantial, so it'd be nice to know what,
Yeah,
Yeah, usually.
that was one of our major accounts.
and there's no reason why that shouldn't be collectible. I mean, the
Not
person is
really.
still within the community, just because they're choosing to ignore letters doesn't mean it should be dropped.
Right, especially where action has been taken up on the ones above on that.
If that was a summons and complaint and there was no response, then the court will find a judgment by default.
Okay.
But it's just a matter of getting that paperwork back.
And the last two, they were just accounts that, I think one was dealing with a business that went out of business, there was a death, that's the last one. And the other one just was something that should not have been put on the list in the first place. It was not I don't want to use the word significant, but it didn't reach the level of being one of those accounts that we want to involve as in a church.
So really, we're waiting for payment on one, payment on two,
Yeah,
and the third one, there needs to be some action,
a
further
little
action
more,
taken.
a little more movement
Yeah.
on that one, yeah.
So maybe we should
Yeah, we
get
got,
something within a couple of weeks on what their what the plan of
Okay.
movement is gonna be.
Yep.
regarding 621, when it's like that it looks as though they've entered into like a consent agreement for $200 a month until the arrearage is paid.
Right.
So as long as it keeps continuing with that, there won't be a motion of contempt filed, so.
So what has to be done on 624 to get this thing rolling?
I will have a discussion with or contact the Schwed's office and ask if they, what their explanation is, and what they are going to do next, what their plan of action is, what I'm trying to get at.
Does anyone have any other questions for Jerry? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, and I'll follow up on that and get the information to you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Parks and Recreation update on the parks signage. I know that I received an email from the Director of Parks indicating that he had attended a meeting, I guess with other park directors and so forth, and there was some type of, I guess, agreement amongst themselves to be able to get the signs. I guess by buying in bulk, they can get them, I guess, a little more inexpensively. But he told me today that regarding the drug-free zone signs, that there are 4 of them coming, and they're going to be placed at Friendship Park, Gobeal Park. I can't remember the other 2 locations right off the top of my head. If you
He's getting
can.
4 signs altogether.
Yeah,
He's gonna put 2 down on Friendship. Where Friendship Park is so big, he's gonna
Yeah.
put 2 down there. 1 up to the boat launch,
Lionsfield.
Lionsfield.
Lionsfield, thank you. Yeah, that was it. Okay. And he's also having some no smoking signs for those areas as well, so that we can have basically a smoke-free campus within the town. So. Next item on the agenda is the General Assistance Update Report. Do you have anything on that, Nancy?
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Okay, it's in the packet. I must have glanced over that. And when the threshold, what is that, Nancy? What does that mean?
There's a threshold amount that you have to meet to get the reimbursement back. And we're within that.
Now, are we going to be looking at what flexibility we have on some of these areas that we're paying out? I'm thinking in particular rent. I mean, can we review policies and
That is part of the ordinance that the Selectmen passed. We can look at that. And the state will be coming down.
What is?
I think it's this week, do you remember the date? Is it Friday that they're coming in for an audit?
Is that the 27th?
That's Friday.
Friday, they'll be coming in for an audit.
Do we have any idea of what impact we're gonna see because of the LePage veto? Maybe Aaron seems to
That's
have
why I was
said
glad
that.
to see Aaron walk through the door.
I mean, I know that that line item was vetoed, but I mean, the real question is, do we have a feel for what that impact is gonna be on this municipality? Is there a way to calculate that? I mean, I know the bigger cities are all saying, well, it's this much money to us, so.
They get the bigger
Okay, but I mean,
reimbursement.
it's gotta be from a percentage basis, we ought to be able to hang a number on what it means to the town of Waterboro.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that number is going to be exactly. Basically, as it sits now, after the line item veto was done, then both parties decided whether they wanted to reconvene or not. The majority parties, both the House and the Senate, decided not to reconvene because we're convening back on May 15th anyways. So the discussion will take place on May 15th, and that's when that will take place, because we have a whole $85 million, another supplemental budget for DHHS, so that's when that will get discussed. But it definitely was one of those, you saw it was much more of a Portland, Bangor, a lot of the largest
Well, I mean, the lion's share of everything goes there anyway, but from a distribution perspective, the ratio and the thresholds and all of that are based on valuation, right? So I would presume that even though we're only collecting this much, and they're
77.
collecting this much, that percentage-wise, we should at least be able to know, okay, if we're gonna do $220,000 as the threshold, is it gonna now go to 3, or is it,
Wasn't it tiered where some communities saw a bigger decrease than others?
The way that at least at the top of my head, 90 now. What was proposed, or what was in the budget, was down to 85. The original proposal by the governor was 50-50, and that's the part when he does a line item veto, he can't strike out any of the policy or any of the words. He can only cross out the numbers.
so there really is no budget for those, at this point, right?
Right. I mean, when we get back to May 15th, and something's gonna get, whether it
Maybe-
will
maybe
stay
we're-
the budget, the governor's proposal, or whether they'll come up with, appropriations will be working, currently they're working on that, I would presume now, to put before the two bodies, so, along with that new supplemental budget that we also have to pass on that time as well.
So just as a understanding here, the governor vetoed the package.
He he used the line item veto
Okay.
portions, the number of portions of the budget, so.
Okay, but this still can be discussed on, you say, May 15th?
Mhm. And that basically was the, behind the reason not to reconvene, because we're already going to be reconvening May 15th. Obviously, anytime you go into special, to reconvene back, that's a cost, more cost to taxpayers, so. It didn't really seem, it was kind of redundant, I thought, was the reason why I voted not to reconvene. We were going back on May 15th anyways, and the time window wouldn't, I didn't see how, how it would affect, whether we went back last week or May 15th, so. And we couldn't finish everything up last week, because that supplemental budget, so we would have been doing a double whammy had we reconvened last week, so.
So it could not only hurt the town's general assistance, but could hit our revenue sharing too.
Well, there was a separate things on that, but it definitely doesn't, I mean, obviously, if it does change, especially if it goes to that 50-50, obviously, it's the towns and the state are going to be, 50-50, dollar for dollar ratio, if that was, or somewhere in between the current and that. Obviously, when we look at all the huge amount of expense across the board, across the state, I mean, they're just unsustainable levels, that if we're going to keep these programs, that, changes have to be made. And that's kind of the bottom line, and not always, unfortunately, they're not the easy decisions, but decisions that need to be pushed forward.
Well, how do you feel, though, Aaron, about passing the buck down, keep down, when it comes to us? I mean,
Well, I've voted very much against state mandates for my 2 years that I've been here up in Augusta. Whether that be procedurals or telling you how to do this, and that, whether it be the schools, I've taken that approach. I don't like that. When you look at this, I don't quite see it as a state mandate as much as, when if towns and cities are over spending on this assistance, and knowing that 90% is paid by the state, bottom line is it comes from the taxpayers' money, left pocket or right pocket, whether it goes filters through the town system or through to the state and through the federal government. So you look at mechanisms of trying to get that cost down, or get the spending down, because it just, it's that overspending. It's over.
now, if the state decides to reduce the reimbursement to the towns on this area, are we going to have a little more flexibility in deciding what we need to have to do and what we don't have to do? I mean, we can't just keep going like we are and increase our budget by
Correct.
$100,000 because.
Right. No, that's really handicapping the town. There's no doubt about that. And that's what some of the other parts of the line item vetoes. If a person gets TANF, they wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't have to give any assistance out because they're already getting a TANF from the federal government. And there's also housing assistance, capping it. What he struck out for 9 months, the governor originally proposed for a 90-day. So there are mechanisms of trying to get that down so it would be less of a...
It's got to be all, I mean, if the percentage of reimbursement is going to be less, then the requirement of how we structure it has to have some flexibility. Right? I mean, you can't take away the part of the funding mechanism and say, but you still got to do exactly what we tell you to do.
For example, we've spent so far over $43,000 in rent. And our hands are somewhat tied with that because the state is saying, okay, if their income level is this, then this is what they're eligible for. So we have to provide that service. That's a huge pocket of money. And it's only a number of people that are getting it. So if we don't have some flexibility where we can start to decrease our general assistance budget, then what happens if the state tells us we're only going to reimburse you 50%? Then that just means that the property taxes here have to go up. So it's just, nobody's going to, they're not
It's a
going to
zero
save.
sum.
It is
Yeah, it's a
that
zero
it's
sum.
taking it out of one
Yeah.
pocket.
Yeah. So
And then the taxpayers in the community are going to say, we don't want our taxes to go up, so then we've got to cut the money somewhere else, whether it's in services we're providing at the transfer station or the fire department or whatnot. The state has to make adjustments, like Dennis said, to the whole package.
I would agree.
I think your left pocket, right pocket theory may be a little askew, because I think the state has their fingers in such a number of other areas that municipalities don't have, that feeds their pocket. And
Well,
I'm
the
talking about
money
sales-
still comes from the taxpayer, period.
Well, there's sales tax, it's a huge thing. That's borne not only by the residents of this state, but by the influx of people that we have come here that buy goods and services for vacations and stuff like that. So the pool, I think, that the state can draw from is certainly much larger. The impact of the municipality is pretty direct. It hits the homeowner through property tax. And that's, it's just crushing everybody right now. And
Well, I agree with your point, but bottom line, it's the taxpayer that's fitting the whole bill. Whether it's the federal government, state government, local government, county government. It is because the government doesn't make money, it doesn't sell a product, it doesn't, it has to take it from the taxpayer. So, it's a kind of complete circle. And I always joke about that left-right thing. Whether the state does it, the federal government does it, you're still taking it out of the back pocket. So.
There's only one revenue source, and that's the taxpayer. And it depends really on how, at what level you look at who's getting pegged, right? So, and people tend to look at local property taxes of what's it costing me to do my run the local municipality. That's really foreign from them to say, well, how do we run the state? And in reality, all the money is intertwined at some point, right? And the revenue sharing has always been, we'll give you revenue, state will give you revenue sharing, but you've got to comply with this, this, and this. And it's got to the point now where revenue sharing is down to what, 370 or something? I mean, that's 35 cents on our tax rate. I mean, it's to the point where if there are some things that we don't have to do, right, we can save that $300 and some odd thousand pretty quickly. But, so it's got to be a give and a take, because the bottom line is, if you're truly going to reduce the cost, it can't be just shuffling it from one tax base to the other, because it's still ultimately coming out of Joe taxpayer's dollar pocket.
anything else now that you have the floor to report from the state?
Well,
That's the good news.
You'd be off the grill, and
the good news, the legislators are not in Augusta. Oh, seriously. we're not-
Save his money.
Yeah.
no harm, no
Can't do
foul.
anything, right? People say, I sleep sounder when you guys are in Augusta. Well, yeah, you would say the same. So, but we're on recess right now, and we'll be reconvening on May 15th for that big supplemental budget, and then obviously the line item vetoes as well. Things are wrapped up. Things are still going forward. I don't know if there's any issues particularly wanted me to ask, or as you see, I'm very prepared. It came from work, so.
Well, you're giving some classes now, aren't you, on how to grow fruit? I see your flyers everywhere.
Well, I was asked to speak at the Grange, the Hollis Grange Hall. So I accepted their invitation, so. it was,
When is that?
That was last Saturday.
Oh, last Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
It was pretty well publicized, because, I mean, it was everywhere.
I had people, before I'd even mentioned it, somebody like, oh, you were speaking, I'm like, I didn't think it was that formal, but, so I guess it was. They did a very good job publicizing it. But.
Anyone have anything else for a legislator?
No, my only, because we're all parochial in this thing, right? And even though we know it all comes from the same place, we would just assume the pressure be on how much is spending at the state level rather than how much at the municipal level, but, so, and I'm sure the two ladies in the back, because with the school system are the same way, it's like, so, I understand it's keeping all the balls in the air at the same time, but, it just gets tougher and tougher.
I'm thinking, unfortunately, it's only going to have that more tougher decisions to lay ahead, unfortunately.
And they had to make some tough calls. It's true, there's only so much money.
And it's shrinking. People's money is shrinking.
And programs have to go, some of them.
They're restructured and, so then save the ones you would like, because if we don't make these decisions, then, things will run out. And that's just a situation I think we can avoid and should avoid, and, it's our duty to do that, to make sure that doesn't happen.
I think the big problem right now is efficiencies too. When you see all the issues that DHHS has had with, the computer issues and people receiving payment that shouldn't have, that's money that shouldn't have gone out that would be better spent on.
With the Maine Turnpike Authority and, just right down the line.
The frustrating piece is that just didn't happen in the last year. I mean, this has been going on for years, right?
Decades. Yep. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric.
Keep the chin up.
Yeah, it's easy to hit. Okay. Are there any announcements? Anyone from the board have any announcements? I was not able to make the six-town group meeting the other night. I had some personal issues going on, so I had other commitments. I don't have anything to report from that. I did get DeLavelle's budget report from the school, but I think everybody got that as well, so, and we'll hear probably more on that a little bit this evening. Okay, if there are no announcements, we'll move on. Hearing of delegation. Is there anyone here who has any business that they'd like to bring before the board at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our correspondence. We had the assessor's agent's notice of May office hours. There's a confidential legal matter. Treasurer's financial report, the e-bulletin, general assistant budget update, and Representative Libby's newsletter. If anybody has any interest in any of those items, with the exception of item 2, the confidential legal matter, they may contact the administrative assistant to the town administrator or the town administrator's office, or they may find this material on the town's website. Reports. Does the selectmen have anything to report?
Finance committee meetings have started. I know they're going late because of they didn't get all of the information until late, but they're, I think, trying to condense everything in. And unfortunately, we've lost a member there, so if anybody's interested in, kind of a little tough to jump in the middle, but if anybody's interested in becoming a member of the finance committee, they certainly can use one, if not two. And they're lining up their missed meetings, and I know they had a special meeting last night with the road commissioner and whatnot. So anything that I guess Matt is meeting with them as well.
Thursday night, I believe.
But other than that, I know they went through probably 25% of the warrant the other night when I was with them. And other than that, I guess the Transfer Station Committee meeting last night, you know, we're trying to get an update, and I'm not sure that Lisa and Mary might help. There was the program of zero waste that was being run in the middle school. We had we're trying to get an update of how did that work, what's going on, and those kind of things. So,
Joe recognized Christina.
Mr. Pope is coming May 22nd to the
Alright.
meeting, and then we'll be attending the transfer station meeting immediately.
right, okay, good,
Thank you.
thanks.
Dennis, you want to follow up? Did you see the article in today's paper on?
Yeah, Eco Maine, and I know we kind of reported that out a week or so ago, but in today's paper, because there's a organizational meeting happening in, I guess it's the Swanwick or something, is in the Casco, is at the Holiday Inn in Portland. But Eco Maine, we voted last Thursday to retire all the remaining debt for Eco Maine. The last two payments were $580,000 or something like that over 2 years, and so those will be paid off by August 1st. There's some fees and stuff that come with that, but ultimately, I think we saved $10,000 by doing that, but by August 1st, Eco Maine in total is free of that debt, so. And it's baked into the 2000, we approved 2013's budget. There's $1 million reduction in the assessments to the communities that will be consistent over the next few years while we're trying to build the capital funds up for whatever has to be done. The real revenue hit has been over the last 3 years with what we're selling electricity for. And I think the paper explained that pretty well. I mean, it's really dropped by better than half of what we were getting for revenue. What was about a $6 million revenue stream is now down to 3. You know, it's going down further than that. So, but if anybody's really interested, I think that the article in today's Portland Press was pretty well done. And there's a lot of kudos for Kevin in that article, and rightfully so. I think he runs a pretty tight ship.
Did we find out who had picked up the trash in 05? Collected it?
And I know that I passed a couple of women that were out there. They appeared to be middle-aged, and but
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
was asked the
recognize
question
them.
last night at the committee meeting was,
There must have been 50 bags.
yeah,
Yep.
and
And
is
those are
anybody
all gone.
who's picking up, the bags are
The
gone?
bags are gone, yeah.
Oh, so
Who
hand
did
them
it?
back.
Thank
Joe
you.
recognized the road commissioner?
There was a couple along the West Shore Road that just come back from Florida, picked up the bag and all that rubbish.
Really? Wow.
And then I believe the state picked it all up today.
Oh.
So I was told, I haven't rolled up.
Now, the bags
It
are
is all
gone.
picked up.
Yeah, well, I think the state come along and picked it up today.
Well, whoever did it, they did a fantastic job, and thank you very much. It's very noticeable.
I don't know the people's name, but I was on the West Shore Road this afternoon, and one of the people told me that it was a couple that does it every year. They said picks up the stuff along when they get back from Florida. They walk out and put it in bags and drag it out. I don't know who it is.
If there's anyone from our viewing audience that happens to know who that is,
The Phantom trash folks.
Yeah, I noticed somebody at the North Waterboro post office put a thank you note on the bulletin board to the anonymous people that cleaned up Route 5. Thank you.
well, if anybody knows, if they would kindly send that information into the town hall so that we can recognize them appropriately, that would be nice. Is there anything else? We all set with Eco Maine? Okay. The town administrator.
We have a couple of things. The senior luncheons are going to begin again at the Ossipee Mountain Snowmobile Club. They're going to be held the second and fourth Thursday, and the first one will be May 10th, and they'll have a guest speaker from the Sheriff's Department on a discussion on senior safety and crime watch information. Tomorrow morning, we will be holding the first meeting of the old Elford Road drainage project. And I think Gordon has it about the 2020 committee wanting to change the date from the 9th to the 16th for the selectmen to meet with them. I also received an email from Glacial Energy in regards to looking into a per kilowatt cost. They have fixed pricing right now, and we could lock into it. And they are also going to send me information on a cap amount. Since we've been with them since May of 2010, we started, I think it was at 6 cents, and we've gone up to almost as much as 10 cents. So this will be the time to lock in. So as soon as I get all that information, I'll forward it to the selectmen. And the MMA Risk Management Services Safety Enhancement Grant Program is available, and I'm going to fill out an application to get some ergonomic equipment for the library.
You don't by any chance have an update on the bridge repairs that the state is doing on the West Road, do you?
Doug can probably give you that. I knew last week they did some work, but I don't know what they did this
I saw that
week.
they set up some forms and stuff, but I may ask you that later then, I just... You all set?
All set.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the town administrator? Okay, seeing none, I would like to recognize those folks that have been waiting ever so patiently from the RSU 57. You have the floor.
I didn't complain about waiting so long as I'm so short, my feet don't touch the floor with those chairs. So I start getting a little antsy swinging my leg back and forth. I'll allow the selectmen to make the decision. Mary Ross is here, she's on the finance committee and the negotiations committee. I would imagine that you probably have quite a few questions for her, but you can hear from her first with those two committees, and then I'll represent the other board member, Heather Silver, with her committees and my committee. So whichever report out you'd like to receive first.
Whatever you'd like to do, what makes you feel comfortable?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, then I guess somebody ought to make a decision.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead,
If you
Mary?
want me to, as far as negotiations, we're obviously still in negotiations with our ed techs and our teachers. Our teachers are closed negotiations, so I'm pretty limited to what I can tell you is going on with them. The ed techs, we commend them. They actually agreed to an open negotiation, so any public member could have come and watched the negotiations, the process going on. We do have all the wording completed with them. We're just now on salaries. So we're hoping that with both of them that we'll have something at the end of this school year, but we're optimistic of that. As far as finance, I really don't know how much you want. I didn't bring everything, but I know that Dr. Davis has met with all the selectmen of all 6 towns several times, so I'm not sure how much he's already informed you of it. We do have the final budget increase. The overall budget increase will be 3.313. Waterboro's will be 3.32. That's their portion. 2 years ago, as you know, we had to do a huge amount of layoffs, and it really hurt a lot of our schools. So we tried to, this year we lost the jobs money, but we were smart enough last year to know not to put any employees in that. So we didn't have to lose employees this year, so we had saved that money and not used it. But as far as what's affecting like Waterboro Elementary, we've decided that we just have to bring back an assistant principal for the elementary school. It's just too big for one person, one administrator to administer that school. It's huge. He has a big 2nd grade class going into 3rd grade, so he needed to add a 3rd grade teacher. The middle school came to us, again with those cuts 2 years ago, we lost a counselor, a guidance counselor, and now that we've brought the sixth graders there, it's just too much for two people to do, so we've added a guidance counselor at the middle school. Other than that, Dr. Davis has brought in gifted and talented. They've always suffered in all of our, we look at special ed, but we don't look at that section, so we're bringing there. We do have, because the state's mandating more people, they're taking them out of group homes and stuff and putting them in the school districts. So our special ed budget has gone up huge because we've got some really severe kids that are coming in that need to be outplaced just for the safety of all the other kids. So that's a big jump there. Dr. Davis also, a band person, we lost that. He wants to do full-time band at the high school. So that was brought in. Other things, like I said, a special ed teacher we had to bring in because of some of these kids coming in. A few of our schools are still on AYP. They're not meeting the federal government guidelines, so we're adding some Title I math, Title I, and some Title I English, some more reading, but most of it's in the math field because that's where our numbers are really low. Our phase 4 of our lighting, we've replaced every lighting, outside fixtures and all the inside fixtures, and it's going to save the district a huge amount of money over years. We probably won't see it the first year, but they're predicting $50,000 or more that this will save the district, and that's our final thing there. And then, of course, we've used, where it's no increase to the budget, we're starting our second year with iPads for all of the freshmen coming in. So now we'll have freshmen and sophomores with iPads. A lot of the elementary, actually all of the elementary principals chose to cut their supply budgets and bring in iPads there to try to get technology. Just first-hand experience, obviously my daughter's been here all night with hers in her lap. She's a freshman this year, and it's phenomenal what those teachers are doing with those iPads. One thing that I noticed that she had mentioned one day, which was really surprising, I didn't think, I was thinking education-wise, but a couple of her students were out sick, and they Skyped the class at home. So they didn't miss the class. They were home sick. They Skyped, the teacher okayed it, the teacher Skyped it on his iPad, so they were able to sit through the whole class while being sick at home. So they really didn't miss anything there, or, as far as that goes. So I thought that, I didn't even think of that process. I know that a lot of them are using a lot of websites. You go right into the class, go on this website, this is what we're studying, and, and hopefully that those iPads will save us money on books in future years, because we won't have to buy as many books. That's kind of highlighted. Our budget meeting is May 22nd at the middle school, and then our vote is June 12th. I have other stuff, but I just don't know how in-depth you want me to get with the budget.
So 3.32 to Waterboro's $230,000 increase in our share. Does that include the adult ed add-on at the end?
The 3.31 does include our, the adult ed is $400,000 this year. So the proposed general budget is $35,759,360. The adult ed is $400,237, with a total budget of $36,159,597.
Okay, so our share is up $230,000.
Right.
Now, $400,000 for the adult ed, have they done an assessment on the benefits of $400,000 to the communities?
Yeah, I wish I had brought those with you. Actually, when she presented her budget, what she's found is there's been a lot of more people going for GEDs, a lot more people taking some college courses. Her, all of her enhancement classes are really, their records are low, because obviously everybody's budget's short, and that's one of the things that they're not doing. Like gardening and learning different trades, or just enhancement of who you are, I guess, is what she said. All of those numbers are low.
So out of that $400,000, are these students paying some of that $400,000?
Yes. Yes. Like I said, I didn't bring the adult ed one. I wish I had. It had all of her breakdown. I could have broken it down for you. There's a difference with funding,
so
too.
There's a revenue side of adult ed.
There is a revenue side of adult ed, but because of funding and how the funding works, and she needed, I know that she bought, this is just by memory here, she had to buy a lot of, her computers are old, and they're needing more computers for more classes, the Play-Doh classes, which the kids can take internet, online classes and stuff. All of her computers in her main office are really, really old, so she's replacing those. Like I said, I wish I brought that budget.
Okay, so, I mean, the 6 towns are coming up with $400,000.
Correct.
All right. And on top of that, there's tuition and income coming in, or is that a part of, how's that figure out?
With the adult ed, she has her own budget, and it just has to be separate because of the way the articles are read and the way the state wants us to do it.
No,
So
I guess what I'm
I guess
asking
not
is, she
understanding
gets
your
$400,000, and then does she get another $100,000 because of tuition and stuff?
No, that's all included with her budget. That's her bottom line, that 400,000.
She's gonna spend 400,
Right.
which is the spend, not
The spend,
necessarily
not the necessarily the revenue. Like I said, I wish I can get it to you, Dave, because we have a breakdown of her whole budget, and it breaks it down and it shows where she
It
got the
would be
400.
nice to
I
know
just
what the
didn't know.
revenue part of that is, right?
Right, yeah, and I can get a copy of that forwarded to you. I just didn't bring my whole budget book because I didn't really know what you wanted to see.
And every year, I know, every year,
The budget book.
I mean, it's a repeated discussion we have. I mean, you're up $1 million, roughly.
Pretty much, yeah.
And next year it'll be $1.5 million or whatever. I mean, I'm in education, but where's the top?
The top is our salaries and benefits.
I know, but where is the ceiling? I mean, at some point, you can only squeeze people so much.
We agree with you.
You know, and I'm a teacher, all right? And I know people are hurting. And something's got to give here. And it did not help the school system there by having the state park these kids with special needs in our districts. I mean, it's the district I work in, it's unreal, the money we got to spend next year. I mean, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, our special ed, a big portion of our increase in our budget is our special ed, because they're being mandated to come in. And our share from the state is down. Our worry is, too, we're hoping that there's no curtailment from the state, because then we're in trouble.
Well, I know the kids need something, but I think we need to assess the whole ball of wax here, you know? I mean, how much is enough, and how much is too much? And at some point, girls, this has to come, you know?
Right, and again, it goes back to is that the law passed that the states to pay 55%, they don't pay 55%.
I know, but the district has to understand that you get the shaft from one end, you can't pass the shaft to someone else.
Right.
I mean, enough's enough.
Well, we're in the same bind that the town is in. We have mandates that we have to follow. We must educate the children to a certain level. We have essential programs and services, EPS funding, and if we don't meet that funding, we get cut even further.
Yeah, and you also have a few ditties there that makes us responsible for paying the bill, so, you know, I mean, we can't go and say, well, we can't do it. I mean, I almost like to have the town say, I can't pay the school.
Yeah, well, you know, all I can say is there was ample opportunity for people to attend budget meetings with the finance director, the business manager, and the superintendent to express their concerns regarding the budget. And at some meetings, we had 11 people. And so, you know, we come to this point. We come to this point every year where it comes to the budget, and then nobody likes the budget, but nobody showed up for any of the meetings.
And tell me if there had been 1,000 people there that the superintendent said, oh, I'll cut the budget $2 million. I mean, you're blowing smoke.
Well, I can't tell you whether anyone or not. We
No,
had
you're
11
blowing
people
smoke.
there, and we get the same responses every year. Don't cut programs.
And you have heard it. You hear it from us every year,
No,
and it doesn't
you're
make
not
any
hearing-
difference.
You're not hearing me. The response we get from the people who show up are, please don't cut programs. We want our children educated in this public school system. We don't want our teachers fired. We don't want our programs cut. Don't cut sports. Don't cut activities. What we get is what we don't do. Don't do. And we want to maintain, everybody says we want to maintain what we have, don't cut anything. And then when we get to this point where we've gone through months worth of budget process where nobody came except people saying, please don't cut our programs, we're already suffering in the district enough. We've got schools not meeting AYP. You can't cut our programs. We prepare a budget. Our obligations to the kids, I've got to pay taxes in this town just like everybody else. And it hurts me when the taxes go up too. But we can't control the cost of fuel, which heats our schools and which runs our buses 5,000 miles a day in this district, the equivalent of going from the East Coast to California and back to Chicago every day. I know there's some belief that we should privatize the busing system. It's not going to cut down on the number of miles we drive every day. And we are obligated, legally obligated, to provide transportation for the students in this district. We can't control the fuel costs. There are a lot of costs that we can't control. And we still have an obligation to educate our students at the level that the state says we must educate our students. So in the same way that your hands are tied with assistance, and you have to continue to provide assistance to the people in this town with the state mandating what you have to do, and they're putting more and more of that cost on you as selectmen, we feel the same thing as a school board. And because we're the largest piece of the pie, we get the brunt of it. So what kind of educational system do you want in this district? And your time to make that discussion, to have that discussion, was months ago.
Okay, are we under the same system? Let's say this school budget is voted on in all 6 towns. Are we under the same thing where we go back and vote again, and we go back and vote again, and then you get basically what you want anyway? So what the hell's the sense of going against it?
No, because if it's refused, if it's voted down, then we need to take money off. We need to bring it down to whenever, we could go back and do that 5 or 6 times at more cost to us, because you have to pay for the ballots, you have to pay for all the voting, you have to pay for the meetings, to keep coming down with the number and keep coming down. And I mean, at this point, we cut our people.
But the whole issue here, and I know that this becomes an emotional discussion, right? A significant emotional event.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, we get 3 parties in this room tonight that all have a stake in this. And unfortunately, between what the state legislators are doing, what we're doing as a municipal officer, and what the SAD or RSUs are doing, okay, the money all comes from the same place.
Right.
We all, the edict, and this is really where it starts, is the edict from the Department of Education drives the cost of running this school system, all right? Fundamentally, that has to change. What used to be an education-driven system, educate our kids, has turned into everything for everybody. We don't just educate kids anymore,
Right.
all right? We do a lot more. And I'm not sure that that's our charter as citizens in any municipality, is to do more than educate our children. All right? So, we can argue, and we get the brunt because we're the ones that hand the tax bill out, right? Which unfortunately, that's why we get paid so much money. Town can't afford to buy us iPads, but we get them for every kid in school, right? But the bottom line is that until, and I'll look around you to Aaron, and I think Aaron knows this, right? He hasn't spent 2 years up there without being whipped a little bit, right? The fact of the matter is, until something structurally changes, and I know that everybody continues to go after, the entitlement programs and everything else, but a big piece of this is education. And as long as we tell every school that you have to do these things, all right, all that's going to do is and not fund it from the state. How many years ago was there an actual vote of the citizens of the state to say you will fund local education by 52%? We're not close to that, right? So, and along with that mandate came LD1, which I think we ought to start ignoring. But the fact of the matter is that as long as those requirements are there, we're going to be hamstrung on what we can and can't do. I'm not sure that...
We're still hamstrung too, Dennis, that the fact that we're in the job market of Sanford.
Understand. And that was supposed to have been resolved, right? Because there's no incentive for them to do that, because all it does is it takes, it's like we've had the discussion of different people getting value reductions on their home, right? Unless you do it for everybody, all you're doing is shifting the bubble, right? Okay, we're gonna give you a reduction in valuation, but Lisa's gonna pay for it because somebody else is gonna do it, right? And that's all we're doing, that's all the state would do is take RSU out of the Sanford job market and put it where it belongs, right? What happens? Somewhere else, the bubble gets pushed, right? So, I'm not sure how you get through, it's always gonna be frustrating, especially when all of us are going up. I mean, pray tell, we start to lay out what we're increasing the budget, or could increase the budget in the municipality this year. It's not gonna be a pretty picture by any stretch of the imagination when we get to the tax bills. I mean, it's 30 cents for the school, it's probably triple that when we start looking at what we need to do on roads and what we need to do in infrastructure in the municipality that we've put off over the past few years. So this is going to be a significant emotional event as we go forward. And unfortunately, I think, like I said, the three parties are in the room here, and all we can do is argue amongst one another of, no, you pay it, no, you pay it, no, you pay it, right? But the bottom line is the taxpayer is paying it. And we're all taxpayers. So we all feel the pain. It's just frustrating that, and I agree with Lisa. The people that are going to go and speak at budget meetings are the people that don't want to see anything change, regardless of what ultimately that's going to affect them in the pocketbook come October when they get the first tax bill, right? Because that's not a real good conduit to say, I'm going to the budget meeting to make sure that the programs get saved, right, and the teachers get saved. I'm not advocating that they don't, but people go there with really no disregard for what that's going to mean when they open a tax bill in October. And that's the reality of it.
And to say that nobody has spoken up, maybe from your perspective, with regard to the general citizenry, maybe nobody has, but Dr. Davis has been having meetings with what we call the six-town group over in Alfred. And early on, he told us about this issue involving special needs students, to the point where, I reported on it before the board. There's one instance where they have to hire a separate vehicle and a separate driver to transport this one child to and from school, and to place him in an environment within the school system that will educate him, but won't socialize him with the other students because of his violent nature. In order to protect the other students, that they have to do this.
The driver can't even get out of the car that drives this child. Someone from the establishment where he goes has to come and get him out for her safety.
Yeah. And that's just one incident of several that Dr. Davis related to us, and he said that's going to drive the costs up, obviously. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I relayed that to our representative, and I know he was going to do some checking in Augusta. I don't know whether it had to do with Department of Human Services or the Department of Education, to see, what possibly could be done about that, because the burden is clearly shifted from what the state used to do for that child, and now the burden is upon the municipality, because that's a significant amount of money to pay somebody for the full school year just to be a driver for one student in a private vehicle. I mean, and like I said, it was one of many stories that Dr. Davis related to us. And, we weren't happy with, some of the percentage figures that we were getting. And I know that some of the municipalities voted they wanted zero. They said zero increase. I looked at, I looked at it from a different perspective, that there's going to be some percentage increase, but let's make it as minimal as possible. Because you're right, the cost of fuel, it's starting slowly to drop down. We can see it at the pumps, but it's still high. And you're right, when you put that many miles per day on, the costs are just
And just a
Astronomical.
reminder that we did have 3 consecutive years where the school budget had a 0% increase. 3 consecutive years. So, and it's been because of this economic recession that we had to cut people and had to increase the budget because there was just no other way. But we had 3 consecutive years where the school budget was a 0%
The
increase.
dilemma here, all right, and I'm gonna get back on this soapbox of, in 2002, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, all right, 2003, we'll make it a full 10 years. The budget for this community for SAD 57 was $3.9 million. In 2013, we're now looking at $7 million. Not quite double, right? So my question is, and I don't think that the population certainly in RSU 57 or in Waterboro has doubled in 10 years, but the fact of the matter is what structural mandates have come down from the state in that 10-year period that have driven the cost to where it is today? Because just educating kids, just transporting kids, hasn't doubled in 10 years.
I think what hurt the school district, correct me, because you've been curriculum, whatever, is the No Child Left Behind. Because those standards are pretty high, and that's like no child left behind.
Okay.
And we had Waterboro Elementary that was on AYP for a lot of years. They got off for 1 year, but they're back on
Yeah,
again.
and I don't expect you to,
Yeah.
you know, I
But that's
mean,
been a
you
big
weren't
cost
around
for
10
us.
years ago
Right.
when,
Right.
but the fact of the matter is that when you look at the cost, and I would agree with Lisa that it was flat for, no, not quite flat, but pretty flat for, you know, in 2009, 10, and 11, all right? 12 was the first time that we took a hit, and 13 we're gonna go another one. But when you look at it, and that ramp up went, in 2003 was 3.9, it went to 4.4, it went to 5.5 in a year. So from 2004 to 2005, it went up by 1.1 million. So that doesn't happen just doing the same thing over again. I mean, inflation certainly hasn't hit in the last 20 years to that number, okay? So something has driven additional cost into what we call educating kids.
We had major roof repairs, all of our buildings.
No, but
yeah.
what I'm saying is,
Yeah,
but it didn't, but it wasn't a one time,
Yeah.
wasn't a one-time
Absolutely.
thing,
Right.
Mary. That's what,
Right,
that's my,
right, absolutely.
you know, if you saw it and you said, oh, we gotta go spend $1 million on buildings,
Right.
the next year you shouldn't. But it went from 5.5 to 5.9, stayed at 5.960 for that 3-year period, so about 6. So now we've gone another $1 million in 2 years. So, and that's Waterboro's share, that's not. So somewhere, and that I think is where the onion has to give it peeled back, is what's been the driving elements of raising the cost of educating kids from where it was 7 or 8 years ago to where it is today.
I do think back, I know I first got on the school board in 2005, and No Child Left Behind had started about a year or two before that. So I would imagine the initial increase can be attributed to that and the mandates, educational mandates that came down from that. I think that over the last couple of years, I will personally attribute the increase with the fact that we are pretty consistently receiving less from the state, and therefore we have to raise funds in the district. If you look back over, I think it's probably 4 years ago that we had our first curtailment, and you know, in the middle of the year, had to figure out how we were going to complete our budget when the state cut us over $700,000 to almost $800,000, because I think it was about $780,000 or something
I
like
thought it
that.
was 757 or something.
In the middle of the school year, and said, we're not going to give you this money for the rest of the year. We had that happen 2 years in a row.
Our Medicaid costs went down huge.
Yeah.
That was always the big revenue. But then the state stopped reimbursing for a lot of the Medicaid stuff.
And it's just steadily decreased each year, because yes, there was a vote that said that the state would pay 55% of educational funding. I think there may be 45, 46 at this point.
I think
And
it's a lot
so,
more than that.
you know, and that just goes down every year. Every year we get the email that says we're not going to get the same funding in EPS that we got the last year. And so, you know, I'm not going to say that we've had necessarily increased recommendations or requirements from the state as far as education goes. What it is we have the same mandates that we've had for quite some time. We still do have to operate under No Child Left Behind, although some of that has been eased up. The fact of the matter is we have to operate at those same mandates with less money from the state. So therefore, to operate at those mandates, we have to increase the local levels that we
They
raise
just passed
here.
another law, thank God that we're ahead as a standards base now.
Right.
The Department of Education has passed another law that they want all their school districts with that. Luckily for us, we were ahead of the game, so we're kind of the front runners for this, but there's a lot of cost for professional development in that.
And that's something that I've spoken on here before, the standards-based, performance-based standards education, and we're a leader in that. And we've gotten all of that cost pretty much out of the way. So that's something that we were able to do with funding that we already had, and that won't be a cost that will be put on this district because the state has mandated that, but we're already so far ahead, and I'll speak on that under the curriculum portion of it.
Is that a policy decision for the Department of Education? Because
I
they
don't
don't
so
make
much
the
policy.
laws, it's a
The
leg.
LD 1422, that was the governor's bill that I actually lobbied against and voted against. That was what I spoke of, state mandates. For those of known me for a long time, I think our problem is that we don't have locality-controlled schools. We have federal manipulation in the state. I think the best thing we do is abolish the federal level Department of Education and then start downwards from there, and that way our localities can control the schools and then see where the cost is, and it'd be a lot easier to fund it and see exactly where the need is for the money and then where it isn't needed. But those kind of mandates, like LD 1422, the standards-based, those things I definitely disagree with personally, and felt strongly, felt I voted in the correct way. We let the schools, the districts compete against each other, and let the people in the communities make the decisions for the schools, and not the state, and not especially not the federal government.
They did another mandate too with that, because it changed our whole scheduling with our district as far as vocational being, you can only have so many days different from the same for vocational school. That was part of that mandate too. I think it was 7 before, now it's 5, or it was 9 and now it's 5. So we had to bring our school schedule back a couple times to try to mandate so the days weren't different. So we're pretty much in line with Sanford. We figured you might as well just, whatever they do, we do, and that will cover the vocational part too. But there were a lot of mandates. There was another mandate with that too. I can't remember the other
There's
one.
the teacher evaluation.
Teacher evaluation, yeah. I knew that there were a few that came down with that.
Which I wouldn't, I don't know how that's gonna play out, but, that's gonna take administrative time. That's gonna take, personnel, manpower. So, which is one of the reasons why at a school the size of Waterboro Elementary, you can't ask one principal to evaluate 50 personnel and get it done in an adequate amount of time, and deal with any discipline problems that are going on, and deal with any emergency things, and go to administrative meetings. Waterboro is hurting and we cut the assistant principal position a few years ago to try and bring the budget down. And so, I have no problem with teacher evaluations. If the state's gonna set mandates for it, we're gonna have to meet it, but we're gonna, especially at Waterboro, we're gonna need a vice principal back over there. So,
How many kids are in the school now, do you know?
in the school district or in Waterboro?
Waterboro, the elementary school, 500 and I want to say 23. Don't quote me on that 23,
No,
but it's over 500.
500.
It's
We're
over
hoping to
500,
20.
yeah, it's over the
That's-
500 mark. He struggles, and we do have other principals coming to help him, but then their schools are left with no administrator in the school. It's not like we want to add more personnel in, but when we cut all those people 2 years ago, we knew it was going to suffer our district, and it did. And now we're seeing it in the testing with a lot of the kids, because we cut a lot of ed techs there, we cut teachers there. The classes are definitely higher numbers in all the classes. So we had to bring some back. We didn't bring all of them back, but we
And
had
I
to bring
know
some
at the
back.
last board meeting, we were already above our usual numbers for kindergarten progress.
Oh, yeah, Waterboro's high already. I think they said 87 already.
I think they were up above 90 by the
Was
end.
it by the end? And they haven't even gotten their jump in August. That's usually when they get a big jump, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen there. If it continues to go up, then again, we'll have to look at those kids and disperse them to the other elementaries, because we can't hire more teachers. Well, Waterboro's one of the biggest kindergarten registrations right now that I've heard of.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's the water. Okay. You all set, Mary?
Yeah, if you guys don't have any questions.
I'll keep mine as brief as
So
possible.
brief.
Curriculum, a couple of things I wanted to touch on was the performance-based standards. They're continuing to work out the standards for that. We're in a cohort with about 15 other districts, and that keeps increasing all the time. People are really jumping on this bandwagon. They want to be a part of it, and they want to be a part of our cohort because we've already laid so much groundwork. And so they're in the process of working on those standards across the board so that everybody in that cohort will be following the same standards for their kids to achieve and be able to gain the same success. That cohort represents about 35,000 students, or 20% of K through 12 students in Maine. So I think that's pretty impressive that not only are we a part of it, but we're really the leader in that. So I'm really impressed with that. In our district, the math, science, and social studies targets across the grade levels have been set for next year. They're working on the ELA, the English Language Arts targets. They'll complete those soon, and those will be presented to the board on the board meeting the 23rd of May. So if anybody has any interest in learning about those targets for next year, they're welcome to attend that meeting. That's when they'll be presented. Also, along the performance-based realm, the Educate electronic system will be put in place next year, and that will be used to track the student progress so that we know that the groundwork that we've put in place is indeed working, and if it isn't, we find that out very quickly and we can tweak those things early on and not be several years down the road and then realize that we haven't done what we needed to do. The strategic plan has been worked on by the curriculum committee. That includes our vision statement, our mission statement, the core beliefs, and the specific goals. That will also be presented to the board on the 23rd of May. In transportation, it's pretty much just monitoring how things are running, keeping an eye on the fuel costs, keeping an eye on the maintenance and the safety of the buses. And there is in the budget the request for six buses for next year. Once we get that, because we did hold off on bus purchases in those years when we had to make some severe cuts, that will get us back up to speed, and from that point forward we will, unless something drastic happens to a bus and completely falls apart, we'll not have to purchase that many. We'll be down to a much fewer purchase on buses, so that will be helpful. Policy, we continue the 3-year review cycle in policy. We are in year C or year 3 with that. It'll run through the end of this calendar year, and then we begin that process all over again. We're currently in the J section of policies, which pertains to the students' rules and regulations. One quick note about MHS, Massapequa High School. The graduation for this year is set for the 7th of June at the Cumberland County Civic Center. Following that will be project graduation at the Freeport Y. The gentleman who led project graduation for over 20 years, Norm Legier, retired at the end of last school year, and so this year's project graduation has been run by a parent group, and the principal of the high school is so impressed with the effort and the work that they have put into this, and they've done a great job, and he's anticipating a fantastic event for the kids. And project graduation, if you don't know, is a chem-free event for the kids after graduation to keep them safe and to allow them to celebrate what they've accomplished. Also, Massapequa High School is leading in Cumberland and York County for enrollment, for what we call dual enrollment, kids that are enrolled at Massapequa High School but also taking classes at either YCCC, SMCC, or USM, and we are leading of all of the high schools in York and Cumberland County. We have the most students that are taking advantage of this, which allows the kids that early jump on some college classes, keeps them involved in school, and gives them a head start in their college direction. We have over 100 students in over 100 courses. So we're really proud of that. And this is also the second year in a row that Massabesic High School will see an increase in the percentage of graduates and a decrease in the percentage of dropouts. 82% graduation rate, and while obviously we're still very concerned about the 18% that don't graduate, we're very proud of the 82% that do graduate, and are proud that we are seeing an upward trend rather than a downward trend on that. Any questions?
The college courses, is that funded under the school's budget?
The school pays for the cost of the course, the student pays for their own transportation, and they pay for the college material, any books that are needed. But it is a way, especially for some of our low-income students, to get some college courses out of the way and be able to then go on to college and not have to delay that because they can't afford to go. And it's also a great way for students who tend to maybe be a little more advanced to go into that college course, get credit for it, then when they go on to a four-year institution, they can carry that credit over. It's similar to the advanced placement program, it's just that it's off-site.
Now, is there any reduction in tuition because the district is paying for it, or is it full?
That I'm not certain of.
I think there is.
Yeah.
I can't quote on that, but I do believe that we do get a little reduction.
My daughter's not there yet,
Seems
so.
like-
I would be interested in that cost, total cost.
But it's an excellent opportunity for the kids, and a chance sometimes as well to take classes that we can't offer at Massabesic High School that will go towards their degree. So it keeps some kids in school.
Well, I thank you for your patience this evening. It's been sometimes an emotional discussion, but I think that's just indicative of the level of frustration that all parties, are feeling. The taxpayer, the municipal officials, our state legislators, the school board. I mean, we're all just, I guess, wrangling our hair, those of us that, may possess more certainly than I do, but it's just, I don't think anybody has any clear answers, but we're struggling to find some semblance of rationale here.
Well, and I'm not on the finance committee. Mary has been on finance for years and years, and I want to say that I commend the finance committee because they work very hard and they work very long, as I'm sure the finance committee does for the town, to try and be as fair and balanced and do as much as they can with what they have. And ultimately, we do know that our job is to educate the students in the district, and we're trying to do that the best way we can and keep them on par, not have them fall behind students from other states and students from around the state. Just because we are a rural district doesn't mean our kids have to have a rural education, and they deserve the right to be right up there with any other town, and that's what we're trying to do, and the finance committee works very hard at that. So I wouldn't be on finance if my life depended on it, so I'm glad that Mary is willing to take it.
When you mentioned someone in the finance, go to the town.
Yeah,
I was thinking Mary Ross.
I nominate Mary. So if there's nothing else?
Did anyone from the board have anything? No? We're all set. Thank you very much,
Do you
both
want
of
me
you.
to just email the stuff to Dave, or do you
All
all
of
want it?
us.
Does he wanted the adult budget?
All of us.
Yeah, just put it to selectmen.gov and all of us will get it.
It's
I guess it's selectmen
at
at
Waterboro
Waterboro.
-me.gov.
Send it to Christina, she'll get it.
Waterboro
at Waterboro.
You're just confusing Mary.
If you know where our website is, they're all on there too, so. Okay, and I know that our illustrious road commissioner has been sitting there very patiently, waiting, and he is now next on the list. So welcome, Mr. Fogler.
Thank you, Lisa and Mary.
Yeah.
Thanks.
See you again soon.
would you like to talk about tonight?
Well, you can give us an update on all those things that nobody says that you're doing.
Is the Conley Road on there before that or after that?
After.
No, that's the first item under new business. So,
Well, we've graded most all of the dirt roads. It was very dry when we graded them. We really needed more moisture, but we graded them all and seemed to be all right. We have very little, if any, surface gravel left on any dirt road in the town of Waterboro. Every one of them's right down to the base rocks. When you're trying to grade them, the moldboard's bouncing from rock to rock to rock to rock to rock. It would be foolish to put a surface coat on them until we clean the ditches out, because in order to properly grade a road, you have to cut a road to the deepest pothole. That means you've got to move all the material from one side of the road to the other side of the road, and then bring it back into the road and put your crown in it. But when you've got rocks from previous years, when you've got all the leaves, the brush, and no ditch to begin with, you have a very serious problem. When you run your material to one side of your road and try to bring it back, you bring leaves, you bring sticks, you bring big rocks, and we need to take a grader and cut these dirt roads. The first road that comes to mind, I guess they all come to mind, but you know, we did a lot of work. When they put the subdivision on the Osby Hill Road, the developer rebuilt that road, and the town hasn't done a thing to it since. It's been 5 or 6 years, I'm thinking, and the surface on that's beginning to wear thin. So there's some trees up there that need to be cut. Even though that road does not get maintained in the winter, it gets a tremendous amount of traffic. The tree cutters are up there cutting a private lot right now, so I've approached him to do exactly what they did on the Bagley Road, to cut that through for us at no charge. Very inexpensive way to get the brush and trees cut at no charge. We don't have to do anything, but we could at least get the road opened up while they're right there. So they're gonna look into that. We did get a few dollars out of that other road, not a lot, but a few dollars.
Yeah, I think around 950, if I'm not sure. I would have to
I don't
check.
think this one would generate anywhere near that much because it's much shorter. But the Bagley Road is a road that we really have got to consider and discuss as to what we're going to do about it. The town has built that road and then surfaced it 2 or 3 times, and it's an ongoing problem. If we clean the ditches out and surface it, we should put a coat of pavement on it, and we would save ourselves a lot of money. The rest of the dirt roads, every one of them needs surface put on them. Any questions about the dirt roads?
Now, is this cost money, is that in the budget for next year?
We have some money, and we have gravel crushed right now, David, so we're gonna go up. We did not do the Bennett Hill Road, because when we graded the roads, it's rough, and anybody that's been down over the Bennett Hill Road knows that, you know, that's another one of those roads that I wanna just sprinkle a little gravel on it, run the grader up across it and keep it as smooth as possible, because I think it's foolish to put a lot of gravel on that road until we take some time and clean up the sides of the road and create some ditches. And if we did, you know, 500 feet a year, eventually we'd get that road up to some kind of condition. But we plan to do some surface work on these roads. You know, probably we'll pick one and do some surface work on it. As some of you know and some of you don't, we've been up on the West Shore Road. The amount of people that live on the West Shore Road has increased steadily, while the road has, you know, never had anything done to it. I spoke to the abutting property owners. We went out there, found the property stakes, and you'll find out that the West Shore Road, as you turn onto it, is pretty close to on private property on the right-hand side, and all the property's on the left-hand side. the trees that the gentleman that owned the property there before didn't want the trees cut. Well, the trees were probably 10 feet in the right-of-way. All of the trees were well within the bounds of the right-of-way. We haven't, what we've done so far, we have not cleared back to the extent of the right-of-way yet. There's still more right-of-way. You can see that we took the trees down, pulled the stumps, grubbed it, and put some gravel in there, because now when you look across it, you see that the road goes right around in a circle. I approached, well, who is it now? OT something? Used to be Saco River. I call them Saco River Telephone.
OTT Communication.
I approached them and Central Maine Power, and they're gonna move the telephone pole at the end of the road. We have an extremely, extremely difficult situation there, and a dangerous situation, because people coming up, going northeasterly on Route 5 with a trailer on back of their vehicle, with a boat or whatever, who wanna turn onto West Shore Road, stop dead in the middle of Route 5 if there's somebody sitting trying to get out onto Route 5. And it's created several near accidents and some accidents. There's been several vehicles coming southwesterly on Route 5, take to the ditch because the vehicle was sitting in the road, somebody tried to pass them, and the person coming around the corner by the cow farm was going fast enough that they couldn't stop, so they ditched it. So we've done that. We've gone further up the road. Mr. Johnson owns that land, and there was some question, but we went up through there, found property stakes, and he was willing to contribute some time, and we've been up there with Tommy, and we've cut the brush back to get some sun in on that road. As you come out of Amy Lane, the people who come out could see to the left, but as they looked to the right, they couldn't see the vehicles coming from their right-hand side. So I was asked by several of the residents in there if we could cut that bank back, talk to the property owners. Again, it was somewhat in the right-of-way, and they had no objections. They wanted it cut back, so we cut that back. We went up to Betty Lane, which is a very dangerous situation where you have a whole bunch of people living in there. And these are situations where that is not a town road, it's a private road, but when the subdivision plan was, I guess you'd call it re-upped some years ago, no requirements were made of those people to upgrade the road. So we've had these people coming out of there, they're sitting on a 7 or 8 degree hill, 7 or 8% hill, trying to pull up onto West Shore Drive. There's a big old tree that was in the middle of the public right-of-way, and you couldn't see to the right and you couldn't see to the left. So we took the tree down, cut some more trees, and then we took the right-hand side of the road approaching Betty Lane, and we took the gravel out of that and actually pushed it right into Betty Lane, so that when people pull up there now, they're pulling up and setting level. That still hasn't cured the problem. We need to take a part of that hill off there. We further went up there, and those of you who are familiar, the town, with state grant money, put in a dry lagoon with an outlet out of it, and put a pipe across the road down further on what's the name of that? Courtney Way. But the water still laid out in the road because the road was never ditched. Well, we've cleaned that, ditched it, the trees are gone, and we've backed all the ditches and put in stone check dams so that the water, there was some concern that the water was gonna move too fast, so we put stone check dams in there, which is we haven't increased the water, but the water is now gonna lay in the ditches and seep through the stone check dams, and we can push the snow out of the road. So we've done a project in South Waterboro end, if you would, up on Windy Drive. We went to East Waterboro, we did a project on the Mast Road. We went to North Waterboro, we did a project on, I call it Emery. I don't know why we changed the name from Emery to something else, but we did. It's I know it as the Emery Road, but now it's the Bedeen Road, or Bedeen Road.
Brady,
There was 2 houses down in there, and I got a call earlier in the spring, and the people were wallowing in mud. The road had been built to get the traffic in and out of Lake Arrowhead, but these last 2 houses in there had been abandoned. And the people had 4-wheel drive vehicles, and they were having hard work to get in and out. I thought that was unacceptable. They've been there for 20-odd years, and, you know, they're still fighting to get in and out. So I had Abbott Hill come over. We took down the big trees. They were in the right of way, and working with the property owners, we took down the trees, and we leveled up the sub-base, and we gravelled the road, those people. So we've done a project in everything but kind of in Son of Waterboro. So West Shore Road is Son of Waterboro. So I think we've hit all portions of the town doing an equal-sized project for road repair. And these roads, every one of them were roads that could be saved, and I think in the long run, we have complemented the conditions of our roads a lot. We have the sweeping crew coming in. Been a lot of discussions about sweeping. I've taken more than my fair share of abuse over sweeping, but there is no budget for sweeping. Sweeping runs approximately $1,600 a day. It's not inexpensive to sweep. It's not inexpensive to sand roads. You keep putting out 4,000, 5,000 yards of sand a year, and some way you've got to pick it up. And people don't like the dust. We've gone out on 3 occasions and swept the roads with our own sweepers. But, you know, that doesn't work. It's just too much stuff. You need a big sweeper. So we have hired an outfit to come in and sweep. They're supposed to be starting this week. I hope they do. The paving plants have opened up. We're going to start Friday morning at 9:30. I'm supposed to go around and get a final cost on the paving. We had agreed, the board had agreed with me that we were going to do the section from New Dam Road to the bridge on New Dam Road, from Old Portland Road to the bridge on New Dam Road where we put all the drainage in last fall. We're going to grind it, we're going to shim it, and they're going to grade it and overlay it, and pave it and overlay it. We're going to do a section of Roberts Ridge, and we need to do all the drive. All the drive's in a terrible state of repair, and we need to do that. That doesn't need a lot of work other than the pavement is just deteriorated. I don't know how many years all the lane has been there, but 20-odd years, and it's never been paved from the original paving. Subdivisions in general, although I've run into a lot of discord because some town representatives don't think that we should do anything in the subdivision. I told them if they didn't want to do anything, we'd just go in and take the scarify them, and we'll grade them, and they can use a horse and buggy, but I don't think the people in the subdivision is going to be all that happy. And I think we've got to do something. I mean, we have a lot of subdivisions, and none of them have been paved in a long time. So there are 3 roads that we're going to pave if I don't hear a lot of objections from anybody. And hopefully there'll be more. May Street needs to be paved. It's in terrible shape. We fixed the lower end of May Street last fall, and I would like to go in there and cut the shoulders and pave that road, but I'm not sure. I won't know until after Friday or Monday how our money's going to go.
Anyone from the board have any questions for the road commissioner? If not, thank you very much. You might as well stay where you are, because the next item on the agenda is to discuss and vote on the issue dealing with Conley Road. So if you could sort of give us your perspective on that. Appreciate it.
Well, previous boards of selectmen in about the year 2000, give or take a year or two, voted that we were no longer going to maintain non-town roads. And that has been, but for some political whim, one of these roads got accepted as a town road. And after we quit plowing them and maintaining them, one unbuilt road got accepted as a town road, still unbuilt. And Conley Way has been plowed. And I guess just by, I don't know for what reason, it just never struck me that Conley Way was not a town road. Well, it's not a town road, it's a private road.
Where is this located then?
It's off the Silas Brown Road. Turn down the Silas Brown Road, take a right, you know where the bog is on the left-hand side? Just you start up on the hill on the right-hand side. Well, we plowed that, but one of them storms we got where it was soft, we didn't plow some of the dirt roads. And I got a call from a very irate citizen that that was a town road and we were not plowing it and we weren't maintaining it and he'd had to plow it. And so I went back and checked and, like I say, I don't know all of the, exactly, I do not look at the list of roads. They come out, they bid on, we bid on them and plow them. But I'm very concerned why we're plowing one private road. If we're gonna plow one private road, we ought to plow them all. If we're gonna plow no private roads, we ought not to plow one. I mean, we have an emergency clause, which we used this winter on a few occasions with ice. We went in and sanded some private roads, okay? Every time we did that, I checked with the fire chief and I checked with the town administrator to get approval for Tommy to sand them. Tommy sanded every one of them with the town's one-ton truck. No, we didn't pay anybody to sand them. And sanding dirt roads with salted sand is a terrible, terrible idea. Because all it does is put pock marks in them where the salt lays. It creates potholes and it keeps getting deeper and it gets deeper. The salty water sets there, the hole gets deeper. It's just that's where a good deal of your potholes come from in the spring, is the salt laying in the road. So I'm here to ask, you know, this board, which I feel is probably unaware of every road that's on the list that Nancy has in front of her. I think that the list is prepared and it rolls over and rolls over, new ones are added and whatever the case may be. But I'm not sure that this board or the members of this board have ever looked at this list entirely and decided there. So I thought that being as I was informed by this irate citizen that it was a town road and we had to maintain it, unless you direct me to maintain it, like I've told other people. I mean, I've gotten at least 8 calls about grading Logan Circle, about grading roads around the lake, the East Shore Road, the upper end of the West Shore Road, and people have been quite upset because I told them I wouldn't do it. Told them if they wanted to do it. The guy that lives over on the other end of the Chadman's Ridge Road, he was very nice. But I said, you know, we keep that road maintained, but I'm not coming over there and work on it beyond where we plow, only what we do in the absolute summertime. But these other roads, I'm not gonna work on. The instructions that the Board of Selectmen has set forward is that we will spend no public money on private roads unless it's an emergency situation which is authorized. And if these people want their roads graded, then I told them they have to come in here under hearing and delegation or make an appointment with this board and they can voice their opinion. And if you tell me that you want the work done and you vote on it to expend the money, then I will do it. But other than that, I'm not gonna do it. And Hence comes Conley Road. Why are we plowing this private road? I do not believe that this board is aware that it's a private road, but I want to make you aware, and I want to see what action you want to take, if any.
I think the board, unless I hear something to the contrary, has taken the position, just as you said, that we will not expend public funds on private roads unless there's a bona fide emergency. Now, they can come to hearing and delegation and voice their opinion, as can any citizen, of the community. And, but it will, I can tell you that it'll be to no avail because it's taken out of our hands. That's a statutory thing. If they want those provisions changed, and I hate to put them on the spot, but what they've got to do is contact their legislator and see if they'll get them to put in a bill for discussion in Augusta to change the law. Because there's nothing that that this board will do to expend public funds on private roads. Now, if someone on the board differs in that opinion, then...
Well, my only question is, why is it on the snowplow list if it's a private road?
I went back and looked, and it was not on the list in 1997. It was on the bid list in 2005, and that was when, and I'm almost, was
Well,
David road commissioner in 2005?
If we wanted to get onto a long discussion, we could easily tell you
Well,
why it's on.
yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think we need to get on a long
And-
discussion.
and
It
the
was
list was put
politically
up by
put on the
the,
list, Dennis.
the list was done by the road commissioner at that time. In 2008, it was on the bid list, and in 2010, it was on the bid list, and it was given to the road commissioner at that time to check the road mileage and to check the list.
So let's, I guess, scrub this down. If it's truly not a town road, then I think we can bring this back for discussion and a vote on taking it off the plow list. But until that's all, resurrected, right now it's on the plow list, so.
And I would say that if the research shows that it is a private road and we shouldn't be plowing it, because it has been plowed, I think we should at least send the residents a notice that
Well, I think
it's
that's-
been plowed in error and it's not gonna be plowed in the future, so they are not next winter thinking it's gonna get plowed and get caught during a snowstorm and figure out they've got nobody to plow it.
I think that's why it's gonna come back to this board on an agenda with the data that supports it, that says, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and then we take that action, and you're exactly right. You can't expect somebody for us to wait until November 1st and say, oh, we're not gonna plow it this year.
Well, that's why we're raising the issue at this time. And Bob Fay and I took those roads off that list. And that's why, and like Nancy said, for 6 years, it was not on that list. And then the year that I got out of being selectman, the following year, it got put back on the list. So it was very evident to me, but, you're aware of what it is, but there's also liabilities that go to the town because there's no proper turnaround down in there. It's a very difficult situation. And, but like I say, if we're gonna plow one private road, then we ought to plow everybody's private road. I don't know if there's anything else that I can,
No, we have that on the agenda to discuss and vote on the issue of Conley Road already,
Would've been
but
nice
I
if-
guess your
Would have
suggestion
been
is to
nice if
table
there
it.
was something in the packet that told us why it was on the agenda. So. So my suggestion is let's
Table this?
let's table it until we go through all of the appropriate motions, and that, to ensure that it is in fact, I don't doubt what Doug's saying, but let's put all the ducks in a row. Use that with a little caution, all the ducks in a row. But let's get all of the facts squared away, and then we'll bring it back to our agenda. That would be my suggestion, or my motion, if you want to call it.
Second. We have a motion on the floor and it's seconded to table this pending further review as to its status. Is there any further discussion on it? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. I didn't mean to chuckle, but I just was thinking back on your duck vote about the issue that we had on Route 5 regarding ducks.
It wasn't my intent to bring that up.
As far as the Route 5 lights go, you know, it was always my intention that, when I brought it up, that I thought that the lights should be paid for. I've wondered, I listened to all the discussion that night, and I had to go back and kind of think this all over, but, you know, time being what it is, what would happen if this year, if the man up there agreed to just pay the bill to the town, take the cost of what it's been in the past, and write a check to the town to pay for that in advance, and give him more time, and I have not spoken with him yet, because I wanted to speak with the board before I spoke with him. Would the board be, you know, favorable to that idea?
I think when we voted on it, we left that a little bit open, that the owner over there would have to come up with other arrangements. That arrangement could very well be coming in and proposing that exact request.
He would pay all repairs and he would pay the bill. The only thing that concerns me is that Tammy raised the safety issue question. I don't have any question about the lights, I just have a question about special interest, because I'm always getting accused of special interest. So I have a question of special interest, but, and I don't want to see service disrupted because there's got to be some DOT permit gotten because you changed the name of it or something like that. So, you know, because it went from public to private, and I've thought about that, what steps might have to be taken to end up with the lights in the same stinking place they're in now, you know. So when I met with him, I wanted to know what my limitations are, what my options were. So does the board feel that that could be an option or not?
I think that when we did take the vote, that we left it that he would, that an offer would be made to him if he wanted to take over the maintenance and payment on those lights, that we'd just leave them there. I guess if he didn't, then I guess what we were gonna do, because of the high cost of, I guess because it does need some maintenance and the yearly bill, that we were gonna, if he didn't wanna have anything to do with them, they were gonna be removed. But he was first gonna get the option. So I think that your suggestion is probably well within the parameters of that vote.
Okay.
The other board members
Yeah,
agree?
I think you can go and look at that. Certainly was the intent of the motion is that the town would forego any cost associated with that, but also contact the property owner to see if there was some arrangements that could be made that he would take over that thing. If not, then they've got to come down. Or I guess you could just leave them there and turn them off and let them fall over, but.
Well, they're not turned on. Last year, when the crosswalk issue come up, painted the crosswalks, he did say that he would reimburse the town for the crosswalks, which, because it had always been the town supposedly that paid for the crosswalks, I did not bill him for that, but he came forward. So I'm going to schedule a meeting with him to discuss these issues and see if we can get them remedied in the best interest of the town.
Well, I think the town needs to continue with the crosswalk, because it's my understanding they took a vote on that. Excuse me?
The crosswalk was in the ordinance.
Yeah, it's in the ordinance, so it's.
The lights are not. There's nothing in the ordinance that describes why we put lights on any crosswalk. But there is a crosswalk ordinance, And that is listed.
Yeah.
From the ducks.
Could be. Next.
Okay. All right, do you have any other questions? Is there any questions on the paving?
No.
Dennis?
Oh.
I've listened well to what you said. There may be a couple places where we have to do some short pieces because we're gonna take out a couple nubs. But other than that, you won't see any 50-foot stretches here and there all over town. It'll be some definite long stretches. So,
I'm good.
And I think that when we look forward, we've got to look forward to two roads that seem to be going down toward the hot place in a hurry. One of them is a good part of the Deering's Ridge Road, which is seeming to deteriorate quite swiftly, and the other one is Straw Mill Brook. And I'd like to have a meeting with you, Selectmen, about Straw Mill Brook Road at a workshop.
We will look at that as an agenda item.
We have two issues
Is
on
that
that.
a road trip?
What's that?
Is that a road trip?
Well, it might be, but we have two issues on that that we need to resolve. And the best way to resolve it went by years ago. Now we gotta try to come up with some way to resolve it. And it involves more than the road commissioner. It involves the Board of Selectmen to take care of it, okay?
While I have you there, and it was a question I forgot to ask during your report, but do you by any chance have a status update on the bridge situation on the West Road?
I do.
If, would you kindly enlighten us, please?
I will. I went over there, and MDOT has, for whatever reason, I guess they felt it needed it, they replaced the riprap and cleaned out the end of the culvert that drains the catch basin at the corner of Federal and West Road. And they have built a walk platform, and they are putting about a 4 to 6 inch face on the bridge. They cleaned up the rotted concrete. They're putting a 4 to 6 inch face on half of it at a time. Be truthful with you, I really don't understand it because I never see anybody build a house starting with a roof. Most of the time, people start and build a house with a saw, but they're starting with a roof. They're putting half the wall up on the westerly side on the southerly side of the bridge, but the westerly half of the strut. It's not a bridge, it's a strut. They are putting on about so much face of concrete. They took off the rotted concrete, they drilled it, they plugged some bolts in it, now they're building a foam. On top of the foam, they're gonna put a 6 inch, roughly 8 by 8 concrete pad to bolt the guardrails down to. Then they're gonna go on the easterly side of the strut and do the same thing. They informed me that the hole up underneath of there, they don't know just what they're gonna do about that. I got a feeling they weren't gonna do anything about it. They're gonna wait till it caves in or something, I don't know. But I asked them if they were gonna put a new base where it's eroded under the walls, and he said yes, sometime in the future. So I've yet to figure.
So they're putting a Band-Aid on it is what it kind of sounds like.
Not sure you would have expected anything else.
When we were down there, there was a discussion about a type of bag that they could insert underneath that space, and then they pump concrete into that. I mean, we talked about that with the supervisor from Augusta.
There was no reason that they couldn't put a pump in that pond, pump it down, and it would have been dry. They could have backed up there with a concrete truck and flowed the concrete in a chute right underneath that bridge and put a foam up at both ends and filled right underneath that bridge completely full. And it would have held the whole thing. And then they would have set their foams up on top of the base or the footing and gone up, but they're not doing that. They're pouring the walls, and then someday they're gonna go in and pour underneath the walls. I just never see anybody pour a concrete wall and decide to pour a footing under it. I thought that lacked some engineering aspect, but the man told me, he said, I got 50 to 60 bridges, and all of a sudden they threw this one at me, and I was told I had to get out here and fix it. So much for the bridge repair. We are going to eliminate the hole we complained about. We're gonna have the guardrail hooked onto the top of it, but as near as I can see, it may just sag in the middle. So you may not go off over the left or the right, but you may have a bump in the middle, and then you may drive right into it. I have no idea. But you'd have to go look at it. It's as well as I can explain it, and I did not take pictures.
So, my other question, and I hate to ask it now, was, did you meet with the engineer on the bridge on Hamilton Road?
I have not. I am going to meet with him tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I believe. We are meeting to look at the work on Old Alfred Road that the town is paying for with a state grant. Correct, Nancy?
What about the work to be done on Old Alfred Road before we take possession of it in July?
I have talked to the guy from MDOT. He is supposed to get a hold of me next week, and we're gonna meet out there. But I can tell you from the discussions that I've had, the 2 times that I've talked to him since we walked out there, that they think that road's in great shape.
Well, there's a provision that we don't have to accept it if it's not in good condition, and I won't sign anything to accept it if it's not.
What has happened, as far as MDOT goes, there is, tomorrow night, Maine Aggregate Association is having their annual meeting, and Governor LePage is speaking there. And on May 22nd, I have been invited to a expensive roundhouse discussion, several $100s a plate for chicken or something, to have an open discussion with the governor. I believe I will pay the exorbitant amount of money and attend that. And I'm going to tell him that I have serious concerns about the standards that MDOT has set for our roads. Because of all of the projects and all of the places they're cutting money, it seems to me that we are tinkling our money away with a very loose screen. Because 2 years ago, they put several, I don't remember the exact amount of money, but it was an extensive amount of money to do the Goodwin's Mills Road from 35 to 202, and it is, they just put skinny mix on there, and that's an awful lot like putting perfume on a pig, because it did absolutely nothing.
Oh, it was great for the first couple of weeks.
Lipstick on a pig.
No, perfume. You put perfume on a pig to make it smell better, and that made it smell better for just a very short period of time, and now it is rougher than a hoot owl's hoot. And it has done nothing for it. Okay?
Let's not go there.
And so, you know, we have lowered our standards. They never even went and do crack seal before they do the skinny mix. They just skinny mix it, and the cracks open right up again, and the water flows underneath them. They ditch it. They have ledge coming up where they're going down a ditch. The ledge sticks up high in the road. The water runs out of the ditch, around the ledge, back into the ditch. I mean, a hammer on an excavator in 2 or 3 hours would take the ledge out of there. They won't do it. No, we don't do that. They won't blast, you know? So they need to put somebody in charge who has some idea of what they're gonna do, because we're putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids, and we're not even putting any Neosporin on there to help the pain. Any other questions, Gordon?
No, I didn't dare ask the second one. I have no more.
Well,
So thank you, sir.
I I will meet with them on the Old Alfred Road. I anticipate it's gonna be confrontational. And if you like, I will call you, and all 5 of you, members of the board, and Nancy can come along, and we can walk up and down the road one more time. Hopefully, your leg will be better this time.
We'll bring a red wagon, we can haul them
As luck would
around.
have it, I'm bringing both of my dogs to the vets tomorrow at 11 o'clock. This isn't tomorrow, George. I'll let you know in plenty of time, so you'll get a new pair of racing sneakers.
Okay.
Tomorrow we're meeting with Wright Pierce.
Tomorrow we're meeting with Greg Peters, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving right along, if that's possible. Discuss and vote to establish an ordinance to exempt eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept an ordinance that will exempt eligible active duty military personnel from vehicle excise tax. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Discuss and vote on a waiver form for partial payments. We have 2 of them in our packet.
And this is a reduction on a previous agreement, if I'm looking at this properly?
Yeah. I move that we accept both of them.
I have a motion on the floor. Would someone care to second it for, at least for discussion, or?
Second.
Okay, it's been, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the waiver form for partial payments, 2 of them. Is there any discussion on this?
So, Nancy, looking at the outstanding, these are properties that we already have liens on?
Yes, they're just making payments.
Yep.
Hmm. And how long? This has been going on for what?
It would appear that the first one goes back to
2008?
Well, I'm not looking at the delay, I'm trying to look at, did we entered into an agreement with them once before? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's what I'm thinking, because it looks like it was
No,
1,000.
I think they submitted one last month, and now they've changed that.
Because it's 2 different properties, same property owners.
But it looks like the amount was changed in both of them before we saw them, so. It is what it is, I guess.
So they were making payment on
No,
one
they
that...
haven't, it looks to me as though they filled this thing out, and now they've changed the amount. And now it's being submitted, and it just looks like a change, but I think this is their original request.
Mhm.
Okay, to pay off the balance down at
Yep.
the bottom, okay. So they haven't been paying all along, they're just asking for...
They're asking for, that we take partial payments.
And the figure is more reasonable than what they can afford, apparently.
What appeared to be 1,000 each, now looks like 500 each, or 1,000 for the 2.
Well, they can, on this, lot 01C, that's gonna be paid off in, what? 4 or 5 months?
18 months.
18 months.
Yeah, because it'd be
19
500 a month.
So that'd be 6,000 a year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The other one's gonna take them 4 years.
Why can't we agree to this, but that 500 on the less payment will be applied to the...
Because Because it really is not a negotiation. They're submitting that this is what they'd like to do, right?
This is what they can afford.
Right.
Well, they're gonna be, in 18 months, this $500 is gonna go bye-bye.
Because at least they're making an effort to pay taxes on both
Right.
parcels rather than just one
I
parcel.
see what your point is
Yeah.
that.
Pay one off quicker.
After that one is paid off, are they gonna double up on the other one? This doesn't say that at this point.
And probably they wouldn't be able to tell because they don't know what their finances are gonna be in 18 months. Once that's paid off, they may come back and say, yes, we wanna pay more, or
Just a thought.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion to accept both partial waiver forms for partial payments. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Discuss and vote on committee application for the Conservation Commission. There's one person.
Does anybody know him?
No, I don't know.
I
So
don't
can we get a,
We can have them come
get him
over to.
in for interview?
Schedule them for an interview.
and meet for
Okay, before I go any further, some time ago in this meeting, one of our selectmen received a text message, and they related that our cleanup crew on Route 5, and I hope I pronounced this right, John and Judy Colony of the West Shore Road. So we certainly would like to extend to them our sincere appreciation for their civic mindedness, and hope that it catches on with some other folks in town who might want to just do a little bit of this on a Sunday afternoon when they go for their walk. They can get in their exercise at the same time.
I wonder if it was Earth Day related, because Sunday was Earth Day.
Could have been. But we all live on the planet, so every day should be Earth Day. So, but anyway, we extend our thanks to John and Judy, and I hope that I pronounced that correctly, and if I didn't, please let me know. Another item of business that I need to mention before I go on is the 2020 committee has asked if their meeting could be changed to May 16th instead of May 9th with the board. Is that agreeable to the members of the board? Okay. Okay, we're in agreement. The 2020 committee meeting that was scheduled for May 9th is now scheduled for May 16th at 6 p.m. at Central Fire Station. The chair will accept a motion to accept the warrants for bills and payroll.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the warrants for bills and payroll. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. I don't see the usual in here to accept the minutes of last
yeah, because
meeting.
they haven't been done.
They haven't been done yet? Okay. Very good, thank you. Pending decisions is public service announcements. That is being worked on. Review of the driveway opening permit language. Met with
Still working with that.
Still working with Doug. Board and committee status, we still have some vacancies. And assessing board of review, 1 vacancy. Fair hearing committee, 2 vacancies. Hiring panel, 4 vacancies. Zoning board of appeal, 1 vacancy. 2020 master planning committee, 2 vacancies. Finance committee, 2 vacancies. Planning board, 1 vacancy. Parks and rec committee, 3 vacancies. Conservation Commission, 1 vacancy. Economic Development Committee, 7 vacancies. And Public Safety Committee, 9 vacancies. So if any of those interest you at all, you can pick up the information from the administrative assistant to the town administrator. Reminders, Wednesday, April 25th at 7 p.m., the planning board will meet at Town Hall. On Thursday, April 26th at 6:30 p.m., the Old Home Days Committee will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Thursday, April 26th at 6:30 p.m., the Waterboro Library Board of Trustees will meet at the library. On Saturday, April 28th at 8:30 a.m., the cribbage tournament will take place at the Old Town Hall. On Monday, April 30th, 7 p.m., the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Tuesday, May 1st, at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting will take place at the Town Hall. We should have somebody from the 2020 Comprehensive Master Planning Committee speak on that evening. Wednesday, May 2nd, 7 p.m., the Planning Board will meet at the Town Hall. On Monday, May 7th, at 7 p.m., the Charter Review Commission will meet at the Old Town Hall. On Wednesday, May 16th, at 6 p.m., the 2020 Committee Master Planning will meet with the Selectmen attending at Central Station. On Wednesday, May 23rd, at 6 p.m., the 2020 Master Planning Committee will meet at Central Station. And I have my note here for May 10th. There was something that was going to take place May 10th. I can't remember what it was. So we'll let everybody know on the website, whatever it was. Do we have any items for next week's agenda, other than what we've already discussed putting on there?
Well, we discussed the, looking at the agenda content, for which would really be a review of the bylaws, I guess, so
All right.
if you can get those out.
Review of bylaws.
Well, we have, that be time enough for that Conley Road? Looking at that, do we need to look at that again?
Yeah, I'll have to- I'll have to-
The information.
She'll have it, okay, so the Conley
I'll have to
Road.
get the information on that one.
Anything else? I'm sure some things will come up during the course of the week. And with that, unless there is anything further that any of the selectmen have to say, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Good night, everyone.